Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Hey there.
Get comfortable, maybe grab a drink, because we are settling in for something really special today.
We really are.
We are leaving the present day behind, leaving behind the news cycles, the doom scrolling, all the notifications, and we are taking a trip back in time.
All the way back.
Specifically, we are going to a Friday night in 1965.
It is a great destination. And I have to say, the vibe of the specific session we are covering today is just, it's immaculate. It's cool. It's so relaxed.
Yes.
It is not a lecture hall. It is a party.
It really is. We're doing a deep dive into the Seth material today. Specifically, we are looking at session 184 from the early sessions, book 4.
Yep, and the date of record is September 3rd, 1965.
And for those of you who might be new to this, or perhaps only know the name vaguely, we aren't just telling ghost stories here.
No, not at all.
We're looking at a document that tries to explain the mechanics of consciousness itself.
Exactly. And just to set the scene for you, I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine it is late. It's 10:30 p.m.
Super late.
It's an unscheduled session. Usually, Rob and Jane, that's Robert Butts and Jane Roberts, the couple at the center of this whole thing, had a strict schedule.
Right. They were very disciplined.
Very. They treated it like work. But this is Friday night. Friends are over. Bill and Peggy Gallagher are there. There is coffee brewing. There are cigarettes being smoked.
Lots of cigarettes.
Oh, yeah, lots of cigarettes. It was 1965 after all, and conversation is flowing. And then suddenly, the energy in the room shifts.
And Seth decides to show up.
Seth, the entity Jane Roberts channels, decides he wants to join the party.
I love that image so much. It just breaks the mold of the mystic on the mountaintop, sitting in silence.
It does.
It's friends hanging out, having a good time, and then boom, cosmic wisdom drops right between the ashtrays and the coffee cups.
That's the perfect description.
Now, before we get into the blocks, the ulcers, and the UFOs, and yes, buckle up, because we are definitely talking about UFOs today, we have a little housekeeping to take care of.
We do. We need to state clearly right up front that this deep dive is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes.
Absolutely.
We are here to explore, learn, and discuss the material exactly as it was presented.
And our mission today is pretty specific. We aren't just recounting what happened like a history lesson.
No.
We are trying to understand the mechanics of consciousness, as Seth explains them here. We're going to look at a psychic test involving an envelope that goes wrong, but also goes right in a way that science usually just ignores.
Completely ignores.
We're going to look at the psychology of health, why you might have hay fever or an ulcer, and we're going to look at some wild predictions about computers that were made in 1965 but feel like they were written yesterday.
Oh man, it was the comments on the salesman personality in computers that really got me. We will definitely get there, and it is going to blow your mind.
It is spooky accurate. And of course, we need to give proper credit where it is due.
Always.
This material comes from the Seth material, published by the New Awareness Network. If what we talk about today sparks something in you, if you have that aha moment where the pieces fit together, we highly encourage you to go to the source.
Absolutely. You really should study the Seth material books yourself. We are just scratching the surface here. You can find them and a whole lot more at the New Awareness Network website.
And that URL is?
URL is sethcenter.com/the early sessions. That is where the real depth lies.
Go check it out. Okay, you ready to get weird?
I was born ready. Let's do this.
Let's start with what they call the envelope test. So, to give some context, Rob, Jane's husband, was always trying to validate Jane's ability, right?
All the time.
He was the scribe, writing everything down in shorthand, but he was also the skeptic, in a way.
He was the scientist in the room.
Exactly. He wanted scientific proof that she wasn't just making this up or reading body language. So he creates these tests.
Right. He was approaching this with a researcher's mind. He wanted data. And for this session, session 184, Roib had prepared a double envelope.
Okay, a double envelope.
Yeah, so this wasn't just a quick doodle on a napkin that you could see through if you held it up to the light.
Not at all.
He used black ink on white paper, folded it, and sealed it inside a double envelope so you absolutely could not see through it. It was opaque.
Okay, so he's trying to make this as legitimate as possible.
For sure.
And what exactly did he draw? Because the specificity here really matters.
He drew abstract geometric shapes, specifically blocks. If you look at the source image that's provided in the book, it's these interlocking groups of rectangular prisms.
So like a building blocks.
Yeah, it looks like architectural sketches or maybe a pile of children's building blocks.
Right.
And there's a distinct group of 7 designs and another group of 3 designs.
Okay, so blocks. Very structured, Very linear, no people, no landscapes.
Yep, nothing like that.
And the goal is simple.
Huh?
Can Jane, while in a trance as Seth, tell us what is inside the envelope without opening it?
That's the test.
And this is the first time she's doing this in front of witnesses, isn't it?
Yes, Bill and Peggy are watching. The pressure is on. It's one thing to do this with your husband in the privacy of your own home. It's another to do it when friends are watching, drinking coffee, waiting to see if it's real or if it's just a parlor trick.
A lot of pressure. So Jane goes into a trance. Her voice changes, her mannerisms change. Seth comes through. What does she see?
Well, she starts getting impressions, and this is where it gets really interesting because she gets what we call hits.
Okay.
She correctly identifies the numbers 3 and 7.
Which matches the groupings of the blocks exactly.
Exactly. 7 designs in one group, 3 in the other.
That's statistically significant right there.
Yeah.
If I asked you to guess numbers associated with a random drawing, what are the odds you pick exactly 3 and 7?
Pretty low. She says, I have the impression of the number 3 or 7, or perhaps 3 and 7. That's a direct hit.
Wow.
But then she gets even more specific. She says she senses something 10 times.
Something 10 times. Now, at first glance, that sounds vague. Maybe she's just throwing out numbers. I sense a 10.
Right. It could be a horoscope line.
But Rob analyzes the drawing later, right?
He does. And this is the detail that gave me chills. Rob's signature, Arbutts, and the date 9165 are on the drawing.
Okay.
If you count the letters and numbers in that signature line, R.B.U.T.T.S.9.165, it counts out to exactly 10 characters.
No way.
Yeah.
That is wild. It's like she's counting the ink strokes without seeing them.
It is.
It suggests she's not just seeing the image as a whole picture like a photograph, but she's scanning the data of the ink itself.
It implies a level of scanning that is incredibly precise. It's almost like she's reading the code of the drawing rather than just the image.
That's incredible.
And she also picks up on the color gray. Now, the drawing is in black ink, but Rob used this cross-hatching technique.
Oh, right.
Lots of little parallel lines to create shadows. Visually to the eye, it reads as gray shading.
So she's seen the texture.
She's picking up the texture and the visual output. She even mentions crisscross shapes, which describes that hatching perfectly.
Okay, so far so good. She's batting 1,000.
Yeah.
She's got the numbers, the count, the visual texture. But then she starts talking about a road.
Right. This is where the skeptics would usually jump in and say, aha, she's guessing. She's cold reading.
I can hear them now.
She starts describing a road, a familiar location, and an unpleasant circumstance involving a woman.
I'm looking at the drawing description.
Yeah.
And I see blocks. I see rectangles. I do not see a road.
Nope.
I do not see an unpleasant woman. So was this a miss? Did this signal get scrambled?
In a traditional scientific test, yes, you'd mark it as a fail. You'd say, subject introduced extraneous data.
Absolutely.
But Seth gives us an explanation here that completely changes how we should understand ESP and consciousness in general.
Oh, this is good.
It turns out those misses were actually hits, just not on the drawing itself. They were hits on the context of the drawing.
Unpack that for us, because this feels like the key to understanding how Seth says the mind works. It's not just about seeing through the envelope.
So Rob drew this picture on the previous Wednesday. He prepared it specifically for a session scheduled for that Wednesday night.
Okay.
But that session never happened.
And why not?
Because neighbors visited unexpectedly.
Ah, the classic pop in. The bane of introverts everywhere. You're ready to work, you're ready to channel an entity, and then knock, knock. Hey, do you have any sugar?
Exactly. A young couple who lived downstairs popped in. The husband was a salesman, someone who travels on the road.
Oh.
And the visit was considered an unpleasant circumstance by Rob and Jane, not because they hated the neighbors, but because it forced them to cancel their work. They were annoyed.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
So the mind didn't just see the ink on the paper.
No.
The mind saw the history of the paper.
Precisely. Seth explains that consciousness works by association. It's not a flat scanner like a Xerox machine.
It's a web.
It's a web. When Jane tuned into the envelope, she didn't just see the geometric blocks. She picked up the emotional energy and the events attached to the creation of the test.
Wow.
She picked up the road because of the salesman who caused the test to be delayed. She picked up the unpleasantness because that was the emotion Rob felt when he had to put the envelope away on Wednesday.
That is fascinating. It's almost like psychometry, where you hold an object and read its history, but Seth frames it as a distortion.
Yes, he says, and I'm quoting here, we were not selective enough. We will have to learn to be more selective.
So he sees it as a flaw in the process.
He calls it a distortion because the intent was to describe the ink, and instead they describe the scenario surrounding the ink. But for us studying consciousness, the distortion is actually more revealing than the hit.
Oh, way more. It tells us that information in the psychic field isn't filed away in neat folders like drawing and Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's all just matched together.
Exactly. The intent of the test is linked to the cancellation of the test, which is linked to the salesman, which is linked to the road.
It challenges the whole linear way we think about perception. We think, I am looking at an object, so I see the object.
Right.
Seth is saying, you are tuning into a frequency, and that frequency contains the object, the person who made it, the person who interrupted the making of it, and all the feelings associated with all of it.
It's like Googling a recipe, but instead of just getting the ingredients, you also get the life story of the person who wrote the blog post and the argument they had with their spouse that morning while they were cooking it.
That is a perfect analogy. You're getting the metadata along with the data.
Yeah. And in this case, the unpleasant circumstance involving a woman likely referred to the neighbor's wife, or perhaps the disruption itself, which involved Jane. The road was a symbol for the salesman.
Not literal.
Not literal at all. It was symbolic and associative.
It makes you wonder how many failed psychic experiments in university labs were actually just successful readings of the wrong layer of data.
Oh.
Maybe the subject was reading the researcher's lunch instead of the Zener cards.
I would wager a significant amount. Seth actually says later that the road was a symbol to describe the man involved because he couldn't get Jane, who he calls Ruburt, to say the word salesman directly.
So it's a game of charades.
It's cosmic charades.
Yeah.
And understanding that association is the mechanism changes everything. It means when you're using your intuition, you have to interpret the symbols, not just take them literally.
That creates a whole new layer of complexity, but also a lot more freedom in how we interpret things. Now, I want to pivot to the next segment because the party conversation didn't stop in envelopes.
No, it got very personal.
They started talking about health. And Rob, poor guy, was suffering from hay fever that day.
Yes, Rob was having a rough time. Sneezing, congestion, eyes watering, the works.
We've all been there.
And in 1965, the understanding of allergies was pretty much pollen is bad, take a pill. There wasn't a huge amount of discussion about the mind-body connection in mainstream medicine.
Not at all.
But Seth takes it to a psychodynamic level immediately.
He does not blame the pollen. He doesn't blame the ragweed or the season.
No, Seth blames the dust, but not for the chemical reason.
Okay.
He tells Rob that the dust in their apartment subconsciously reminds him of the dust in his childhood home. And specifically, it reminds him of his mother.
Wow. This is deep. So the physical allergen is a trigger for an emotional memory.
That's exactly it. Seth suggests that Rob has a fear of personal threat regarding his parents. He feels he can't give them the unquestioning love they demand. So when he smells that specific type of dust, his subconscious goes, alert, threat, mom is judging you, and his body reacts with hay fever.
That is wild. So the runny nose is basically a defense mechanism against a childhood memory.
Yeah.
It's the body crying because the inner child is stressed out.
In Seth's view, yes. The body's acting out a psychological trauma. The stuffiness might represent feeling suffocated by those expectations. It connects physical health directly to emotional history. It implies that our biology is listening to our biography.
It makes you rethink every single cold you've ever had. Is this a virus, or am I just remembering my third-grade teacher?
It might be both. The virus might be the opportunity the body takes to express the memory. And it wasn't just Rob.
No, it wasn't.
Bill Gallagher, the guest, had an ulcer. And I feel like ulcers were the quintessential 1960s ailment, the businessman's badge of honor.
The executive ulcer.
Yeah.
Too much coffee, too much stress, too many cigarettes, too many martinis at lunch.
Exactly. But Seth looks at Bill and says, it's not just your diet. He tells Bill that getting rid of the ulcer requires intellectual integrity and discipline.
Ouch, that feels like a call-out. Bill, your stomach hurts because you lack discipline. That's a tough thing to hear at a party.
It sounds harsh, but it's actually really empowering. Seth tells Bill that he creates his own ulcer through suggestion.
Through his own thoughts.
Yeah. He says if Bill understands the construction of matter, essentially, how his thoughts form his physical reality, he can get rid of the ulcer within a year.
Within a year. That's a specific prognosis.
But notice the condition. If he understands the construction of matter, it puts the responsibilities squarely on Bill. It's not take this antacid and wait. It's change your thinking. Seth says the intellectual integrity behind the material will appeal to Bill.
So he's complimenting him at the same time.
Right, he's saying Bill is a smart guy, and if he applies that intelligence to his own body, he can fix it.
I love that the solution isn't magic. It's discipline. It's mental work. It fits the theme of the night. Everything is connected. The drawing is connected to the salesman. The hay fever is connected to the mother. The ulcer is connected to the belief system.
And amidst all this heavy psychological analysis, we have to remember the vibe. This is a party. It's Friday night.
Totally.
And Seth wants to be the life of the party. He's not there to just lecture them on their failings.
There is this hilarious moment where the energy apparently dips a little. Maybe they got too serious about the ulcers and the childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And Seth demands to know where the jokes are.
He literally says, what happened to all the jokes? He wants the convivial party air. He doesn't want to be treated like a dusty old professor giving a lecture. He wants engagement. He wants laughter. He feeds off that energy.
And then we have the cat incident.
The cat incident. This is just great. So Jane is in a trance. Her eyes are open. She's walking around as Seth.
Okay.
And he picks up their cat, Willie. Now, Willie knows Jane. Willie lives with Jane. Jane feeds Willie.
But Willie does not like Seth.
Willie apparently does not like the energy of Seth.
The cat freaks out.
The cat squirmed out of her arms and bolted, ears back, terrified.
Oh, wow.
And Seth, without missing a beat, cracks a joke. He says, your pussy doesn't know who his mistress is right now.
Oh, my God.
Now, we have to contextualize this. It's 1965. The slang was different. But even then, it's a double entendre that shows a very earthy, human sense of humor coming from this non-physical entity.
It just shows that Seth isn't some robot. He's observing, he's participating, he's cracking jokes, he's trying to put them at ease, even if he terrified the cat.
It also highlights the shift in personality. Jane is the mistress, but right now, Seth is driving the car. The cat senses the driver has changed, even if the vehicle looks the same.
The driver has changed. That is a great way to put it.
The cat is reacting to the energy signature, not the physical appearance. Animals are often more sensitive to that stuff than we are.
That's for sure. Okay, let's move to one of the most mind-blowing parts of this session, segment 3, time and computers.
This is where we go from living room party to future shock.
So Bill Gallagher, the guy with the ulcer, also has another complaint. He feels like he doesn't have enough time. He's stressed out about his schedule.
A very common complaint then and now. And Seth analyzes Bill's perception of time. He says Bill chops time into segments of minutes.
Mechanical time.
Right. He's living in mechanical time. Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Which is how we all live. We have appointments, deadlines. We live by the calendar on our phones. We are slaves to the grid.
We are. But Seth says this chopping is what creates the feeling of lack. He suggests adopting a conception of psychological time.
Okay, what is that?
This is a core Seth concept, the idea that time is fluid, like a river, not a grid. If Bill could flow with time rather than fighting the grid, he would feel he has enough time to do everything.
It's the difference between staring at a clock and being in a flow state.
Exactly.
When you're in flow, 5 hours can feel like 5 minutes, but you get a massive amount done. You aren't checking the minutes, you are just doing.
You're just in it. It's subjective. Seth is telling Bill to stop letting the clock dictate his reality and start letting his intent dictate the flow of his experience. It's about changing the relationship with the medium of time itself.
And speaking of processing information and time, they start talking about computers.
Yeah.
Now remember, 1965. Computers are the size of rooms. They use punch cards. Personal computers are science fiction. The internet is a fantasy.
It's a completely different world. And yet, Seth makes a prediction here that is chillingly accurate. He tells Bill that computers will transform human life.
I mean, check mark on that one. We literally carry them in our pockets now.
Big check mark. But he doesn't just stop at, they will be big. He issues a warning.
What's the warning?
He warns about the salesman personality in relation to computers.
This phrase stuck with me. The salesman personality. What does he mean by that?
He describes it as using computers for a feeling of superiority and power over others.
Wow. That hits home.
I mean, think about the data age we live in now. Think about algorithms. Think about how tech companies use data to predict our behavior, to sell us things, to manipulate our moods.
It's the ultimate salesman.
It is the ultimate salesman tactic, scaled up to a global level using computing power.
It's not just about selling a vacuum cleaner. It's about selling a worldview. It's about the power dynamic. I have the data, therefore I have the power over you.
In 1965, the idea that a computer could give you power over someone else was abstract. Computers were calculators, they did math for the census or for rocket trajectories.
They were tools.
They were tools. But Seth foresaw a time where the computer would be a tool of dominance, a tool for the ego.
It's the bro-tech culture. The idea that we can disrupt everything, control everything, optimize everything. It's a very specific type of energy.
And Seth warns Bill specifically because Bill was interested in studying computers. He tells Bill it will require strict discipline to work with them without falling into that trap of feeling superior.
That is profound. He's warning about the spiritual danger of technology, not just the technical side. He's saying, don't let the machine make you feel like a god.
Precisely. Because when you hold the keys to the data, it's easy to forget the humanity of the people represented by that data.
They just become data points.
The salesman personality views people as leads, as targets, as numbers to be converted. Seth is warning against dehumanization via technology.
Man, Seth was reading the 21st century like a book back in '65.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that the problems we face with AI and social media aren't new. They are just amplifications of human flaws that have always been there.
He really was ahead of the curve. And he didn't stop at technology. He went straight for the woo-woo wagon, as we call it.
Yes, segment 4, UFOs.
Flying saucers.
It was 1965. The newspapers were full of reports. People were seeing lights in the sky. The Exeter incident happened that year.
It was a big topic.
So naturally, at this party, someone asks Seth, what's the deal? Are they real?
And Seth doesn't hedge. He says flat out, the craft do exist.
Boom. Confirmed. No metaphor there.
No metaphor. But then he goes into the politics of it, which is fascinating and very specific to that era. He calls the government's denial pitiable.
Pitiable.
He says government people cannot bear to admit something they cannot explain, which is just human nature.
The ultimate bureaucratic nightmare. I don't have a form for this, so it doesn't exist. If I can't regulate it, I'm going to deny it.
But he also defends the denial. He says it's understandable. He claims the government wasn't just hiding aliens for the sake of it. They were trying to prevent public panic.
Okay, that's the standard line.
But not just general panic. He gets specific. He says they wanted to prevent the uniting of far left and far right extremist groups.
Wait, hold on. The far left and far right uniting. That sounds oddly familiar.
History rhymes, doesn't it? But his logic was Cold War specific. He said if the government admitted these craft existed, the extremists would immediately claim they were Russian secret weapons.
No, interesting. So the right would say, the commies are invading, we need war.
Yeah.
And the left would say, well, maybe similar panic or accuse the government of failing defense.
Exactly. It would cause chaos. People would think the Soviets had leaped ahead technologically. So the denial was a stability tactic. It wasn't about, are we alone in the universe?
It was, we cannot let the public think Russia has a super weapon that can fly circles around us.
That's it. That makes so much sense for 1965. The fear of the bomb, the space race. If a saucer lands, you don't think Martian, you think Moscow.
Seth says the denial was to prevent that specific narrative from taking hold. He even mentions that in 6 months, the reasoning wouldn't apply as much due to impending developments, possibly the elections or shifts in the political landscape.
It's a very pragmatic take on UFOs. It's not about galactic federations. It's about managing the anxieties of the American voter.
Which is often what it boils down to. And speaking of anxieties and managing future outcomes, we have to talk about the premonition. This part gave me a little chill.
The Leonard Yod's case.
Yeah. So Seth suddenly brings up a neighbor, Leonard. Leonard isn't at the party. He doesn't know about the sessions. But Seth says there is a dark cloud, or rather an unpleasantness, hovering over him.
He predicts an accident or unpleasant event between September 15th and October 15th, a specific 1-month window.
Now, normally if you get a psychic warning, the ethical thing, or at least the human impulse, is to run and tell the person, right? Hey, Leonard, watch out for falling pianos.
You'd want to.
But Seth says no.
Yeah.
He says they cannot warn him.
And this is so important.
Why? Is it the prime directive? Are they not allowed to interfere?
It's deeper than that. Seth explains that the prediction is based on current trends. It is not a fixed fate. It is a probability. He says, and this is a quote, if the present trends were changed, the personality of the future trouble would change also.
So, by warning him, do you change the trend? Or is it that the trend is internal to Leonard?
I think Seth implies that the trouble is a manifestation of Leonard's current psychological state. The event isn't just random bad luck, it's the result of a trajectory Leonard is on.
Ah,
Warning him about the event doesn't change the cause.
that is a crucial distinction. If you tell him don't drive on Tuesday, he might stay home and fall down the stairs because the energy of the accident is still looking for an outlet.
Exactly. Unless Leonard changes his trends, his thoughts, his emotions, his vibration, the probability remains high. The event is fluid, the cause is the trend.
The personality of the future trouble. That's a poetic way to put it. Trouble has a personality. It wears a face. Maybe it's a car crash. Maybe it's a slip and fall. Maybe it's a fight. But the energy is the same.
It reinforces the whole theme of the session. The envelope test showed us that objects carry the energy of events. The health discussion showed us that bodies carry the energy of memories. And this premonition shows us that the future carries the energy of the present.
It's all one big feedback loop.
It is. We are projecting our internal state onto the screen of the world constantly.
Even down to the career advice. I almost forgot Jane asked about Cosmopolitan magazine.
Right, the practical side of ESP. Jane wanted to know if she could sell an excerpt of her book to Cosmo.
Which seems like a long shot. Cosmo and metaphysics.
Seth says yes. He predicts they will be interested, but they will ask for changes. It won't be an immediate yes, but eventually it will be affirmative.
I love that. It's so mundane compared to UFOs, but it validates that this material is meant to be used for life. It's not just for sitting on a mountaintop. It's for paying the bills, managing your health, and understanding your neighbors.
And that's why the Seth material has endured. It's practical mysticism, it's distinct personalities. Seth, Jane, Rob, the witnesses, all interacting in a very real, very messy human way.
So let's wrap this up and look at the big takeaways from this Friday night party in 1965. What are we walking away with?
Okay, first, the nature of perception. The envelope test taught us that ESP is associative. If you are trying to be psychic or even just intuitive, pay attention to the distortions.
The weird stuff.
The stray thought about a road might be the key to the whole puzzle. Don't throw away data just because it doesn't fit your linear expectation.
Second, the mind-body connection, your hay fever, your stomach ache. They might be telling you a story about your past or your beliefs. As Seth told Bill, intellectual integrity can heal you. That's a powerful mantra.
Third, time and technology. Don't chop your life into minutes. Try to feel the flow. And be wary of the salesman personality in technology. Don't let the tools of the future amplify the ego of the present.
And finally, reality is malleable. Fate is not written in stone. It's written in trends. If you don't like where the car is heading, you don't just pump the brakes. You have to change the driver. You have to change the trend.
Beautifully put. It puts the power back in your hands.
Wow, this has been a fascinating deep dive. I feel like I was there in the room with them.
I can almost smell the cigarette smoke in the coffee.
Before we go, we have to remind you one last time, this deep dive was based on session 184 of the Seth material.
Yes.
If you want to explore the origins of reality creation, you need to go to the source. Study the Seth material books. Visit the New Awareness Network website and bookstore at sethcenter.com, the early sessions.
Seriously, go there. There are thousands of pages of this stuff, and every single one of them has a nugget like the ones we discussed today.
And a quick reminder that this deep dive is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes.
Yeah.
We're just here to share the wonder.
Indeed.
Now, I want to leave you with one final thought, a little nugget from the session that we touched on but didn't fully unpack.
Okay.
Seth mentioned a spirit guide named Frank Watts.
Ah, yes. Frank.
Rob asks, how is Frank? And Seth says, essentially, he's doing well, but he's still a fathead.
Still a fathead.
Think about that. We often think that when we die, we become these enlightened, perfect beings of pure light and wisdom.
Yeah, that's the common idea.
But Seth implies that Frank Watts, who is dead, who is on the other side, is still Frank. He's still a fathead. He still has his quirks.
It implies that personality survives, humor survives, flaws survive. Death isn't a car wash that scrubs away who you are.
Exactly. So if Frank is still a fathead, and Rob is still reacting to childhood dust, and Bill is still stressing about minutes, how much of your current reality, your fate, is just a habit you haven't broken yet?
That is the question.
Something to mull over. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next reality.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.